Have you ever wanted to learn a language but didn't know where to begin? Duolingo is a great starting point. It's a fun mobile app that can help you start learning a language. They have about 40 language courses. I chose Norwegian. I've used it off and on for the past few years, but always had trouble sticking to it. It was hard for me to get a learning streak longer than a couple weeks. 365 days ago, I decided to really buckle down and make it my goal to reach a 365-day learning streak. And today is that blessed day. I did it! Oh my gosh, I did it! In this video, I'm going to delve into Duolingo and try my best to be as detailed as possible. I'm going to make sure to do chapters so you can skip ahead to whatever specific questions you have. This is going to be a little bit thorough. I've split this up into 3 big chapters. Chapter 1, I'm going to go over Duolingo itself, how it works, did I even learn anything, and my overall experience with it. Chapter 2, we're going to talk about why learn a language. Chapter 3, I'm going to be talking about setting goals in general and what this experience has taught me about setting goals. So, let's begin. So, how does it even work? After you download the app, you can select whatever language you like. Once you select your language, you have entered the course. Now, your course is broken up by big sections. In those sections, there are different units. And in each unit, there's a myriad of lessons. Now, these lessons, I would say, take anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes, depending on how hard it is or how distracted you are. It doesn't take all that long. For Duolingo to count your time, you do have to entirely complete a single lesson or a challenge. If you only go partway through a lesson, it doesn't count it as extending your streak. And yes, I did mention challenges. There are quests and challenges all over in Duolingo. There are monthly quests, and if you complete everything in the quest, you get certain rewards, either gems or an XP boost. Now, if you have gems, you can pay for extra stuff like entering a challenge in the free version. These challenges are really fun. Now, I did mention there's a free version of Duolingo. You have to watch ads during it. They're not too bad, but they are a little annoying after each lesson. And also, you have only 5 hearts. So you have limited hearts. If you lose all your hearts, you can't continue. You have to wait till they build back up again. That can be rather annoying if you're having a particularly off day. You can also buy XP boosts or a streak freeze, which, let's say, oh man, you missed a day or you know you're going to miss a day, you can purchase a streak freeze so you don't lose all your progress. On the other hand, if you have Super Duolingo, you have unlimited hearts, so you can make as many mistakes as possible and still be able to continue your lessons. And while this makes you maybe less careful, it's not like you're risking much if you go fast and make mistakes. So on one hand, you're making a lot more mistakes, but on the other hand, you're also spending a lot more time learning. So you tell me. You also unlock a huge advantage if you use Super Duolingo. You get to review. You can go through listening review, speaking review. There's also specific review for your weak points and your constant mistakes. You can also go back to previous lessons you've completed and select review that lesson. And that's a huge value to me to be able to do those reviews. Another bonus of getting Super is you don't have to pay to enter challenges or the legendary thing, which gives you like 80 XP. There's so much fun to be had. Okay, another aspect of Duolingo that you need to know about is leagues. Once you do a lesson, you will enter a league. The more XP you earn, the higher up in the league you go. If you're in the top 10 of the league at the end of the time period, you will get promoted to the next league. You know, if that kind of thing works for you, it can be really fun. It reminds me of Clash of Clans in that way. So there's many aspects to it that will help if you're a bit more competitive. And if you're not, don't worry about it. If you don't want to be competitive, you don't have to. So that is just the overall review of how Duolingo works and the basics you need to know before you get started. Now let's move on to my own personal experience. Now for me, it was really hard at the beginning. And of course, when you're first learning a language, it can be kind of daunting and difficult when you don't have much vocab to go off of or just any knowledge in general. I think it was mainly hard for me because I had the free version, you know, of course there's the ads and you lose your hearts and things like that. But also because there was no review, I didn't have gems that often enough to spend on the challenges that could be fun. So what I ended up getting stuck doing is the actual lessons. It was the hard lessons every day for me. And that can get a little tiring when it's just, you feel like everything is just so hard. And you don't get that mental break and you don't get that little bit of fun. It was just more difficult for me at the beginning. But then I finally figured out how to use night owl chests and early bird chests. It took me a while to figure out what those were, and I was not utilizing them when I earned those chests. So let's say you do a lesson between 6 a.m. and noon. When you do that, something pops up and it says, you've earned an early bird chest. Now what you can do with that chest is if you log in between 6 p.m. and midnight that same day, you can unlock that early bird chest and it gives you double XP boost. So instead of doing all this hard work for 10 or 15 XP, you can get 30 XP for a lesson, which really helps you move up in your league. And then guess what? If you're on there between the 6 p.m. and midnight, then you obtain a night owl chest. And you guessed it, if you log in the next day between 6 a.m. and noon, you can unlock that night owl chest and get the double XP boost again. So you can see what they did there. It's kind of smart. They get you to go on twice a day, but actually it's like, yeah, why not? It's a way to play smarter and not harder. You can earn a lot more XP and it keeps the language fresh in your mind all day long. So I really like utilizing those now. That helped me a whole lot with my competitive side. Then what happened is every time I reached a milestone, like if I kept up my streak going for 50 days, I think, every 50 days they would give me a 3-day Super Duolingo for free. Another smart move on their part. Then I got to see exactly what I was missing by not having Super Duolingo. It was always so much more fun when I could experience those free trials. I didn't have to worry about my hearts. I didn't have to see annoying ads. I got to do all the fun stuff and not use up all my gems. It was great. And then the reviews, oh my gosh. My favorite thing to do is use the speaking exercises because to me that's just really easy and it's really fun to talk in the language, and I don't like typing stuff out on my phone. I would use the speaking review all the time. It's worth a lot of XP, especially if you are utilizing your XP boosts. So they're normally 20 XP. Use your XP boost, you get 40 XP. Sometimes there's happy hour, bumps it up, and you get 50 XP. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. It made such a difference that my husband finally convinced me to just pay money and get the super. And he was learning Russian, so we decided to get their family plan and do that together. I definitely don't regret it. Also, this isn't sponsored in any way. I don't know if Duolingo even does sponsor things, but I'm just talking purely from my own experience and what worked for me. As soon as I got super, everything changed for me. Suddenly, Duolingo became way more fun, and I became extremely competitive. I would do everything I could to utilize XP boost and climb the ranks. I went from fighting tooth and nail just to stay in Obsidian League, dreaming that one day I could make it into Diamond, to not only living in Diamond for like 17 weeks straight, but often staying in top 3 and even getting number 1 in Diamond one time. This, however, can also be a con because I'd get so competitive that I would focus so much on the challenges that my lessons would just fall to the wayside. You know, it's okay because you're still practicing the words and getting really comfortable with them, but you're not really making forward progress. After a while of this, I actually would start getting a little bit bored with Norwegian. It could be a little repetitive and I didn't have a language buddy to practice with, so I was getting a little bored. Sometimes I just wanted a mental break and I really wanted a learning buddy. So since my husband was learning Russian, I would sometimes go over and practice Russian as well. And this really helped because if I just was getting so sick of Norwegian, I could switch over to Russian and then, you know, I'm still practicing languages, I'm still extending my streak, but I'm stimulating my mind a bit more. And Duolingo does make it really easy to switch over if you're practicing multiple languages. You just can go over and select which one you want to be doing. You don't lose any progress or anything like that. It's pretty simple. And because Russian is so different than Norwegian, it wasn't a struggle for me to like keep them separate in my mind. I mean, occasionally I find myself wanting to mix 3 different languages all in one sentence, but most of the time they're just so completely different that it was very easy to separate and switch my mind over. There may be other languages that's kind of hard to do that with. Norwegian is formatted differently than English, whereas Russian is formatted the same way as English in my head. That's how I view it, except they don't have a lot of the unnecessary words. It's very straight to the point, no nonsense language. So like in Norwegian, you'd say like, this is my mother, they are mor en min. If you translated it, it'd be like, this is mother my. And so it makes no sense in my mind, and that's kind of difficult with other languages, as I'm sure you guys know. Yeah, when you have to like put the defining things after the word you're defining, it makes no sense to my brain. But that's just because I grew up learning English. But Russian is formatted in that same way, like etot moy papa. This is my dad. They don't have are or is. It's kind of just like all mixed into the word, or it's implied. And you kind of have to judge it based off of context or intonation. If you're just reading it, it's hard to guess if this is a question or a statement. It's very interesting language. It fascinates me in the completely different alphabet. Very mentally stimulating. So yeah, point being, it would help me to go back and forth, and then I could sometimes practice with my hubby as a language buddy for Russian. So moving on, what exactly did I learn? Since the majority of the time I was doing Norwegian, I didn't have a language buddy. I feel like there was a lot of potential there that I wasn't able to tap into because I didn't have anyone to practice with. That being said, I have learned a ton of vocabulary, which would definitely come in handy if I were to ever visit Norway, or even Denmark or Sweden. I have learned a whole lot of vocabulary. Stringing the sentences together is a bit more hard since I haven't really practiced that, which I could definitely utilize myself a bit more and actually write down sentences and just practice with myself. But if you have a learning buddy, that would be so fun. Okay, I gotta tell you this really fun memory I had. So my husband and I, we were learning some Russian together. I just have this sweet memory. One night we were watching the Blacklist. There were some Russian bad guys in the show, and they were talking to each other over the radio in Russian. And we heard, "Oni is dis." And just like some dogs hearing a squirrel, we looked up super alert, and then we looked at each other with so much delight because we realized we both understood what was said. They are here. That was such a cool moment, and I really look forward to more of those. That is so fun. So, based off my YouTube demographics, most of my viewers are from the United States. So, my Americans, are you asking yourself why learn a language if so much of the world already speaks English? Well, let me answer that question based off of my personal experience in other countries. Firstly, let's get something straight here. Many other countries despise Americans. And honestly, I don't really blame them, because the US to the rest of the world is portrayed through the lens of Hollywood and whatever news is presented in California or New York. So based off that, why would anyone like Americans? Unfortunately, it's like the world forgets that there's so much more to the US than just California. So if you're visiting another country, the locals will probably secretly or not so secretly hate you. Sad but true. They will think you're a self-absorbed, arrogant child. Speaking in their language will go a long way to them hating you less. If you're going to all the trouble of visiting another country, I'd recommend spending at least a few weeks ahead of time learning some basic vocab. A few years ago, I spent a month in Denmark. People were so upset when they found out I was American. I felt pressured to apologize for it. But whenever I tried applying my limited Danish vocab, it made a huge difference in their attitudes towards me. If you're going to another country, you should try your best to speak their language, even though they probably speak English second language. It will go a long way to building some foreign relationships, and you could also better represent the United States. On that note, I do want to point out that for learning a language, there is no better way than the immersion method. For all my time on Duolingo, nothing compared to the month I spent in Denmark, immersed and surrounded by the language. But if that's not an option for you, or you just have limited time, Duolingo is a great way to passively build up your vocabulary arsenal. Also, if you're asking yourself if you should pay for Super Duolingo or just use the free version, I guess I would say if you know you're just gonna sporadically be using Duolingo and you're not really committed to a certain goal, or you just know you're not gonna be using it all that much, free should be just fine for you. You're still gonna have to deal with ads and you're gonna have heart limitations, but if you're not worried about that, it should work just fine for you. Conversely, if you're going to be intentional and you're going to be spending a lot of time using this app, Super Duolingo will make it so much more enjoyable for you and therefore encourage you to spend even more time learning. Accomplishing this goal taught me that even if I do something for only 5 minutes a day, every day for a year, you will be amazed at the difference. At the beginning, it'll seem like you're making so little progress, and sometimes you're just gonna want to give up. But just that little bit every single day, consistently, at the end of the year or a certain amount of time, you're gonna look back and see how far you have come.
Oh yeah, how are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling like a $200 bill. Little by little, you will get better and better. The key is to just not give up. This experience has been so encouraging to me. Patience is not my strong suit, so committing to this and being determined and daily coming through for myself in this way, I didn't know I could do it. You know, for some people it might come pretty easy. For others it's going to be truly hard. But that's showing up for yourself every day. And this can be applied not only to learning a language, but in so many other areas in your life as well. It could be used for honing in on a new skill, or maybe meeting a fitness goal, or changing your life situation. This could even be applied to a simple goal you have for yourself, like growing your hair out. Patience, perseverance, and passion to be the best version of yourself will help you stay driven and accomplish goals for yourself. And what a perfect time to get started. Happy 2024, y'all. Lastly, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Would anyone be interested in a YouTube live study session for a language? I'm kind of thinking there's not very many people learning Norwegian. If you happen to be learning Norwegian, please leave a comment. Let me know if you'd be interested in having a YouTube live study session. I haven't done live before, but I'm guessing the way it would work is whoever's watching would write in Norwegian and then I would respond in Norwegian and we just kind of practice that way. Obviously it'd be more fun if we could all be speaking, but I guess that's how it would have to work on there. If you'd be interested in this but you are not learning Norwegian and no one else is learning Norwegian, let me know if there's a majority language a group of you guys would want to do. Because I don't mind learning another language. Like I really like learning languages. Yeah, let me know. Like Russian could be cool. That'd be kind of hard with the keyboard. I don't know how that works. Like if you could get the Russian alphabet on your keyboard, I don't know. Would anyone be interested in this sort of thing? All right, guys, I hope I inspired you to keep learning a language. And if you're inspired now to start learning a language, let me know which one you chose. I love this kind of thing, so yeah, let me know. Now I'm just gonna end this video by speaking some random stuff in Norwegian and maybe even Russian, just for fun. And if you speak these languages, let me know if I even sound anything like I'm supposed to. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Vi har 5 barnebarn, 3 jenter og 2 gutter. En kjekk mann. Det er fortsatt tidlig. Vi ser eka parisehula. Er august en måned? Smaker det? For mange år. Guttene spiser brød. Спасибо, Anna, здесь. Добро пожаловать в Париж. Привет, я учитель. Собака не ест сыр. Она женщина. Ты психолог? Да, Светлана здесь. Он не музыкант. Она не капитан. Где ты? Да, я ем яблоко. Нет, кошка не ест сыр. Мой рюкзак здесь. Это кошки. Мужчина едят хлеб. Наши девочки и в кафе. Тарелки здесь. У тебя есть полиция. Mikroborgovene ser på deg. Huset vårt har 2 spisestuer. Gå aldri alene. Vi trenger et hus med stor stue. Har dere lilla blomster? Jeg foretrekker hvite kjoler. Hvordan smaker pommes fritesen? Hyggelig å møte deg. Hvorfor forstår han ikke? Jeg har et navn. Du må bli i sengen i dag. Her er suppen din. God bedring. Jeg er tørst. Hun snakker godt engelsk. Hvilke språk snakker sønnen din? Norsken min er ikke perfekt. Jente er ditt barn. På vår gjest sier Maria, etter meg sok. Da jeg hjem sier, hva vet? Sier i mas ja, sa Alba, жалоста. До свидания.